Del Rio, Texas, Rob Wade and Robert Garza. Two guys who dive.
This episode of Two Guys Who Dive, recorded live Saturday, 26 April 2014, episode 101. I didn't teach you that. And here we are once again with another exciting episode of Two Guys Who Dive, and I'm your venerable host, Rob Wade, and I'm joined by
Robert Garza.
So you came in
A little winded.
like ready to just well, actually you did just collapse in the chair. So
I did.
What's up?
Well, I kind of had told you about Sandy's
Yes.
relatives were down or whatever.
Right. Still here, I guess.
Well, actually, they left last night.
Late or early?
Let me give you the. Let me
Okay.
give you the
Give me the spin
story,
up on
yeah.
it. Okay, here we go.
All right. Well, the thing is,
Do we need theme music for this?
No.
Darn.
Yeah, actually, I need the theme of Rocky to keep me going.
Nice.
What happened was her flight was going to be at around 5 a.m.
Oh.
This morning.
And meaning you have to drive all the way to San Antonio.
So we would have had to drive her to San Antonio.
Yeah.
So it was either I take her late last night or I take her extremely early this morning. Well,
I can imagine which one you chose.
she wanted to go last night. So we left. It was just me and her. I was the only one who took her. I left last night at 11:30 to San Antonio to drop her off. Got to San Antonio at 1:30. Was tired because I had worked all day, so I hadn't napped, I hadn't rested or anything.
Yikes.
So then on the way back,
Zoinks.
kind of was, stopping periodically. So I didn't get home until 6 a.m. this morning. And then I had to sleep until 8 because I was one of the captains for the zombie race that took place today at the amphitheater around Moore Park. It was
Zombie race?
Yeah, it was a 5K race called the zombie race. It was
Zombies don't run.
Yeah, no, they
They
weren't
kind of
running.
limp.
They were limping.
So how is that a race, man?
Well, the thing is, here's the thing. They had the runners. It was called the zombie race, and it was a deal for the Del Rio Soccer Booster Club. They were trying to raise funds or whatever. So they decided to do
or raise the dead.
Yeah, they were
Nice.
They did the first annual zombie race. Well, here's the thing. If you were going to be a zombie, then obviously you weren't going to run the race. It was the people that were going to run it. They gave you a belt with 3 flags, kind of like the flag football thing. And you had to go through an obstacle. It was a 5K, so 3.2, 3.6 miles. And it started at the amphitheater, went all the way around by the Tardy Dam, came all the way back around towards Moore Park and back. And throughout this whole place, they had obstacles that the runners were going to have to, overcome.
Let me guess. Shotguns, arrows,
No,
those kind
no,
of things
no,
that
not
you
like
kill
that.
zombies with.
Not like that. So it was kind of like if by the end of the race you at least had one flag on, then you successfully, in other words, overcame the zombie apocalypse and you survived without being infected.
So there were people trying to take your flags.
Yeah, the zombies were taking your flags, but the thing is, they were scattered all over the park.
Yeah.
So and they were in full costume, full face. They got there super early this morning.
Did you get pictures?
Yeah, actually,
Oh,
I
man.
got a couple of them. But it was pretty interesting.
Send them to my email if you can.
Yeah, so they had a mud crawl. They had,
Oh,
I'll get them.
wow.
I'll get them for you. Anyway, so but it was really neat. They had blood dripping all over them. I mean, it was fun.
Wow.
A lot of participants from the base were there. And like I said,
would imagine.
you had some zombies that were like literally like The Walking Dead. They were just like walking through the park, making noises, and the runners were running around them. And then you had the occasional. The goal was to try to get a flag. Right. So you had one or two zombies within certain areas that would actually run after you only a certain distance. and then after a certain distance they would stop, and then you would, the runner would keep going because it was to try to get you to keep running. So it was neat. There was an elderly lady there who completed. Of course, nobody took her flags, but she must have been probably in her late 70s, maybe mid 80s, early 80s. She literally did the whole thing. I mean, she wouldn't. There were skips to where if you didn't want to do one of the obstacles, she was crawling through the mud and everything. It was
Wow.
It was wild. It was wild.
Well, that kind of reminds me, really it shouldn't, but it does, reminds me of this YouTube video that kind of went viral of this elderly lady from England who was on the Britain's Got Talent.
Mm-hmm.
And she's out there with this young guy who was, I guess, her dance coach, dance teacher. And, of course, the look on Simon Cowell's face was like, I mean, literally, he's rolling his eyes, not believing that this woman's she's probably going to, pass out or just barely move.
Oh, and then she cut.
And she seriously chews up the floor. And matter of fact, I got to see if I can find this.
I'm trying to
video.
find some pictures for you.
Okay, let me see if I can find that video. It was actually amazing. YouTube. You can always find everything on YouTube. Let's see. Got Talent. Here we go. Oh, good grief. Commercials are horrible. I hate
the
commercials.
commercials, yeah.
Ooh, let me see if I can fine-tune the focus since I made some adjustments. Yeah, this woman was really, really amazing. Oh, my gosh. Wait a minute. My wife would love that ad of Dachshund.
This is weird. Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank
What's going
you.
on with the audio
Actually
here?
reminds me of a Little Britain sketch that I did. Please, could I have your names?
I'm Paddy.
I'm Nico.
And
And what is the nature of your relationship?
it's weird.
And might we ask you your age?
I will be 80 this July.
80.
Do you think you can win this show?
Oh, it would be very nice, but just as long as people enjoy what we're doing and we give people pleasure.
Girlfriend's
that's
got the
main thing.
right attitude.
Yep.
Okay, well, best of luck.
And he's like totally dubious, like, best of luck. Okay, now it starts out like slow. And watch Simon Cowell's face.
Like bored.
And he's ready to buzz her out.
Not the fastest routine I've ever seen.
Oh, the look. And he's like expecting the other two to buzz her out. He's like, what? The stuff she's pulling off. 80 years old.
Yep.
Look at this. Careful, she's 80.
Careful, she's 80.
She's just enjoying herself. Look at this. They're thinking they're going to break her. She's going to get hurt. Look at this. She's pulling off stuff that are just impossible. I see 20-year-olds that won't do that.
There's one where
Well, what's funny is Simon ends up apologizing to her for buzzing her out. He goes, that was inappropriate. He's like, I was not prepared for that. That's what I thought of her when you told this. What was 80 crawl through the mud and do all this? I'm like, not surprised after seeing that.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, it was pretty neat. It was, like I said, the first annual. So they needed some things needed to be, I guess, tweaked or whatever. And I think somebody was going around taking notes about, okay, well, if we do this next year, we need to change this and we need to change that, which is good. That was how good.
So what would you say then was the biggest lesson learned out of the whole affair, being the first annual?
Probably for me the one thing, like if I do get asked, is gonna be the location and time, because we did the park, and which was great, but it was shortly after the Easter was just happened,
right?
And well, these knuckleheads that are drinking, when we had gone and done the actual walk the first time, the area was clean. Well, in the area where I was in charge of a rock wall right by the Rainbow Bridge on the other side. Yeah. And there was a bunch of glass where they had been throwing bottles against the wall and the rocks and stuff. So I had to go up there and we had to go and sweep the actual wall, because when we had first initially looked at it, I was like, oh, this is perfect. I mean, it was clean. There was nothing. And then all of a sudden I went yesterday, Thursday, to just go a quick walkthrough with the organizer of the thing, and she was like, look at all this glass. I'm like, this wasn't here when we first came. She goes, I know. It was just...
I'd like to just... Oh, you sent me the email. Ignore it.
So it was a lot of things. They had the water dispensed out pretty good. So for me, it was just that, you know what, we got to do this before a major holiday.
A real walkthrough.
Yeah, a major holiday, or if you're gonna do it, get the city to make sure that the park is cleaned
right before
the event, because of course they had to sign waivers if you get cut, fall, or anything. You're not gonna sue the city and all of that other stuff. But aside from that, it was okay. And the way the meetings were conducted to prepare, there was a lot of questions, obviously, that a lot of people had, and they didn't have it because this was the first annual.
Right.
So it just kind of...
Yeah, see, I want to grab people. I got it on my phone, still catching up with probably because we're eating up my bandwidth with people like that. I just want to take a pellet gun and just shoot them. Nothing fatal, but just so they have something that stings and lets them remember they don't need to be butt heads about being drunks. Yeah. Plus, you can't. I think there are ordinances against littering and stuff. So if somebody would have busted them, I would have been quite happy. But
no, it was just
okay. So yeah, doing a last minute walkthrough, just in case. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the only thing that bothered me was
having to see all that stuff. Yeah, that's a shame. Oh gosh. Let's see.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's try this one more time.
Well, I got it. I didn't. I thought you were going to email it, so I was gonna. So let me save these to saved pictures. Golly, those are wild.
Yeah, and those are just a few. That was before the race started and that I actually was able to catch.
So how many people approximately
about
participated
about
this time?
100 runners.
And then how many were the zombies?
Oh, there was the last
About.
I'd heard was probably about the same, maybe a little bit more.
Wow.
Everybody.
So
signed-
there was a zombie for every runner.
Yeah, everybody wanted to be a zombie, and that was the
Well, yeah. You know,
know.
that's like playing the dress up and the characters and stuff when we were kids. You know, this is the first time you know, at our age getting to legitimately do it. That's kind of why I like acting so much, because I can legitimately do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think it was a second meeting. They were like, "Hey, we have a lot of zombies already. You know,
Right.
everybody wanted to come out and be a zombie, but we need runners." So
Actual runners.
yeah.
We need people to actually run. It's a race.
But it was pretty neat. It was I really enjoyed it. From what I gathered at the end of the race, a lot of the people that were like captains or like team members
Right.
that were in charge of an obstacle saw everybody running and thought, man, this looks fun. So a lot of them were saying, you know what, next year, if there is one next year,
Right.
they don't want to be any part of it. They want to run it.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, that's great. You know what?
I love the cloud. It's
Yeah.
so quick. All right, let me see if I can bring these up in a slideshow real quick. All right.
Technology.
Pardon as you we'll be talking about her later. Let me add another slideshow. You're watching the what do we call it? You're watching
Behind the scenes.
the sausage being made here. So while you observe the blank screen here, I'm adding pictures in. So yeah, fun stuff. Pictures. Nope, not that one. Gotta go to my stuff. Oh yeah, I got the cloud. From my 1020 saved pictures. Oh, that's the wrong saved pictures. There we go. Dun 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 dun. There we go. Open.
Gotta love it.
All right. Here we go. Let me make this full screen. All right.
And that's my son, Brandon.
There we go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Golly, you're right about the now. Where's this mud hole here?
Okay, that if you're going towards the base on Highway 90, that's like pretty much right across from the golf course.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's the
Oh,
very
right.
first one. They have like
Before you get to the creek.
Right. So that was the
Gotcha.
first one. The city
Gotcha.
actually came in and muddied it up, and they were with 4-wheelers early this morning, juicing it up.
Nice. Juicing it
Yeah,
up.
and then we had the next obstacle right over. I didn't get I know that they had pictures of it, but
Uh-huh.
I didn't take any of it. That was towards the end. They still have at least one flag, so they
Can't see the flag on the other one. They're quite happy that they survived the zombie apocalypse.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they were all dressed up. They were
That is great. Don't see enough open wounds though. Oh, why do I have that? Did I grab that by accident? Oh, there we go. Yikes!
yeah.
Wow, pearly white teeth for having so much blood.
Yeah.
Nice. They should have gone with the torn up clothes though.
A lot of them did.
Now the one on the right here, that is awesome. Although his hair is too cool.
Yeah.
He needed to really like straggle that out, spike it up, something like that. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the lady. Yeah.
I don't think she'd be a dancer, but
She was crossing the water right there.
really?
They had to go through the water, under the water. It was quite a feat. I have to honestly say. Yeah.
Wow. All right, cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the first annual soccer zombie run.
Nice.
Yeah. So pretty neat. I gotta honestly say.
Whining coming from.
But like I said, hopefully everything will go well, and they'll have a second annual, which I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they will.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. So, and
In little old Del Rio, no less.
And they're having also another one. A
What?
church is putting on what's called a.
Wait a minute. Please tell me a church is not putting up a zombie.
No,
event.
not a zombie
Okay.
run. They're doing the first annual night 5K run. It's at night, and what they're doing is they're putting on lights like fluorescent shirts. It's called what is it? Let There Be Light Run or something like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
I
so-
like that.
Yeah, it's one of those church. I don't really know what church it is, but it's
We've got lots of churches in Del
yeah,
Rio.
but they're doing the first annual. Light or get rid of the dark or something like that.
Yeah,
It's called
that's
So they're
cool.
supposed to be all lit up, and we'll see how that goes because that's
Nice.
also the first annual one too. So
Yeah. So, speaking of churches and Sunday, so how was your Resurrection Sunday?
my Resurrection Sunday was pretty good. It was good. We spent it here with my parents.
Yeah.
My dad usually does the whole brisket thing, and this year he didn't want to do that, so he just made chicken.
Wait a minute, that's just down the block from me, and you didn't invite us over?
You weren't
What's
here.
up?
You weren't here because I told you that you had.
No,
Brandon
actually,
Jack-
we were over at some friend's house
Oh,
doing
okay.
a similar barbecue thing, so
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
I was
Okay.
ODing on hamburgers. So.
And Sandy was like, "Well, what do we do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. We didn't
Eat.
have plans because usually my father will tell me, hey, are you guys going to come over because I'm making a brisket?' You know,
Yeah.
it never fails.
It's like an automatic thing.
Yeah. Well, this year my mom calls me and says, we're not going to make brisket. I'm like, well, what are you guys going to make?
Whoa, what?
What? I was already counting on brisket. I had my sweet baby Ray.
Sweet baby Ray.
Uh,
Put on the brisket. Sweet baby Ray.
So anyhow, so it was chicken. So I had barbecue chicken. So it was good. It was good. It was good.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, we did similar. Had a great service at church. The little kids did a cute little dance to "God's Not Dead,"
Oh,
the
okay.
song, and which we actually were doing that song. We've added that song to our repertoire for this Sunday, so we'll be rocking the house. We had fun with that on our practice. But anyway, so the kiddos did a great job with that, and then we went over. A bunch of us went over. Troy and his family and us. We went over to. Basically, it was most of the praise and worship team, and the families all getting together and having a good time. So, had an awesome time.
That's awesome. Yeah. Troy.
Yeah.
Speaking of Troy, his daughter, I guess
Michelle,
Yeah,
yeah.
Michelle. She comes up to me and shows me her new Lumia 1020,
Yeah.
and I was like, ugh, I almost gagged. Right? I'm like, I go, it's a good thing. Can I see it? Right? And she was like, yeah. So I had it in my hand, right? We're there at the school, and I go, I need something to hold this door open. It just keeps closing. So I was going to put it on the floor, right, as the door stopped. And she goes, no, give me back my phone. Then she came up to me shortly thereafter, and not that same day, but, well, I mean, maybe I shouldn't even be saying this because I don't even know if Troy knows, but she already cracked the screen on it.
What?
Yeah, I don't know if she dropped it or what. She was like, look, my screen cracked on the bottom little corner. It's got a little chip on it. The whole screen isn't shattered. It's just missing a chip out of the little corner. And
She should put it in a case.
that's what I told her. I go like, you just got this phone. These things aren't cheap,
I mean, I've got the wireless charging shell on mine, so it kind of creates a little bit of corner buffer on it.
Yeah.
And I've dropped this thing multiple times, and I've not had any problem. But I think it's because I do have any phone. If you drop it on the corner,
Yeah, it's gonna.
doesn't matter. It's going to shatter. I don't. That can be the strongest thing in the world, but if you drop it on the corner, that's it.
Yeah. So,
but I think this has got enough of that flexibility on the corners.
yeah.
that
So
it's
Troy,
protected.
if you're watching, I'm sorry. Please don't get after her.
It wasn't his fault.
Yeah, it
He
wasn't-
didn't actually put it in the
Yeah.
doorway.
No, I didn't. And accidents
tempted
happen.
as he
Accidents
was.
happen.
As tempted as he
But
might
she
have
is
been.
dogging me every time she sees me. That Windows phone is the bomb diggity.
She really likes the camera. She's
Yeah.
and of course she doesn't like to sync her phone up, and so of course the pictures go to the cloud, but your video doesn't by default unless you set it up with 8.1 it can, but a video, high def video on those things can eat up that memory pretty quick.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So she's gonna be running the ragged edge of I've got no room for anything. So not much in the tech news today, but the big thing was a kind of when is it actually going to happen is Friday. It was official. the Nokia Devices and Services Division merged with Microsoft and is now Microsoft Mobile Oi.
Mobile Oi.
I'm like, what? What the heck is Mobile Oi?
Oi.
Oi. Oi vey. So no, they went from Finnish to Yiddish.
Wow.
And then another thing, and I hadn't heard that anybody was having a problem with this, but I was surprised that it was making some news. Apple began repair, also on Friday, Apple began the repair process for iPhone 5 units with a faulty sleep button.
A faulty sleep button.
You know, what is that about? Or have you even heard of it?
The
It's not evidently it's not a huge thing, but it was enough that they had to actually ramp up here's our, not a recall, but here's how you can send your device in to get work done.
I don't know if this is from what I've understood, the button or whatever on a lot of the the new Galaxies, the new iPhones, is like if you shake the phone, you can hear the little button rattling.
What?
Yeah, like in other words, it's
I didn't
too
think there was
loose.
as thin as those things are. I didn't think there was any room for anything to
Yeah,
move.
so it actually kind of rattles, and it's not supposed to do that. And I believe that's what it is. My phone does it.
What?
This one does it. Yeah.
Well, it didn't say the 5S.
Yeah,
It just said the 5.
yeah. So, but
Yours is working.
Yeah, no,
Evidently,
it works.
evidently people were reporting that it wouldn't wake up properly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're
no.
not having any other than a rattle. You're not. It's
No.
not malfunctioning.
And even at that, it's like a sack of pennies or it's not like that. It's just
the iPhone S, sack of pennies.
yeah, the sack of pennies.
Nice.
But no, and wow, no,
Okay.
no, have
Yeah, I
never
was
had
like,
a problem with that.
I hadn't heard of that
knock
one.
on- Yeah, knock on wood on that one. No,
So, did you see any movies this week?
I did not. But we can
What?
rewind back to the a little bit more to about the tech.
Oh,
Apple released a new update for their iOS 7. Now
So that brings it to
1.1.
1.1. Okay, and so was it mostly bug fixes or
It's just
improvements
really
in
bug
general?
fixes. And I think it was something to the fingerprint security. It just it updated something about fingerprint security, and that's pretty much it.
My
Nothing-
dogs have got mud all over me now. Golly.
Nothing really drastic. So if you see it, you can go ahead and update your phone.
No negative impacts that
No,
you're aware of.
nothing.
Because that's what you always hate when they put something out to fix one thing and then they break 3 others.
Right.
Which I think every platform has suffered from at some point or another.
No, that was it, and that. Yeah,
How fast was it to load, by the way?
Oh, it was small. It wasn't like a full.
Well, it is a .1.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't even probably. It was like 256 megs. I mean, it was small.
Cool.
Nothing too big.
All right.
I mean, I downloaded it and it installed on my phone within a matter of like 5 minutes. It was.
Now, was it
quick.
also available for the iPad or is it just an iPhone?
It's iOS devices.
Okay, cool. All right. You kind of got a sneak preview of one of the pictures that we had on another slideshow. Last year,
Mm-hmm.
at this time, they had the Boston Marathon.
Yes.
Of course, they
yes.
just had the new one, which first ever American has won it, or first in X number of years, I guess. Although his name didn't sound very
Yeah,
American.
when I saw-
it's like walk that. I'm like, what?
When I saw it, I thought he was like from.
Yeah, and they said
India
he's
or
American. We're excited because Americans haven't won this in a long time. And I'm like,
Well, he must have been just a newly citizen.
yeah,
some
or a serious, an immigrant family, obviously.
Yeah,
from non-European or
Yeah.
non-modern or non-old European. But so, of course, last year we had the bombing.
Yeah.
And a number, of course, success stories and great heartwarming stories have come out of that. But one of the Boston Marathon victims has become a scuba diver.
Oh wow.
Adrianne Haslet, who was former dancer. And at first I was thinking, exotic dancer or real dancer? Regular dancer. But evidently it was a regular dancer. Lost part of her leg in the bombing. And but she decided after her recovery from that she wanted to feed her adventurous side by diving with sharks.
Okay.
So she went to Costa Rica and got her certification, and she kind of accomplishes it an interesting way. Let me bring up the slideshow. She has to tape a fin to her left leg. It requires about a third of a roll of duct tape to do it.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? But to come back from something like that, which would be all too easy to just get depressed and not want to do anything with your life. But, here she is getting all suited up to go scuba diving. And then, not to rest on that, in March of this year, she actually got to dance on stage in Vancouver through the use of a revolutionary prosthetic device. Is that not amazing?
That is cool.
See, just love it. Technology and determination. as Vala is determined to tear up what's left of that ball.
Yep.
She loves that thing. She has torn the guts out of it. But anyway, that just shows you technology coupled with determination, sheer strength of human spirit to say, you know what, I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
And that is awesome. That is fantastic. So bravo, or as we actually, it would be brava, to Adrianne Haslet for overcoming a tragedy and doing even more than she was doing before she suffered the injuries that she suffered. So,
well, that's cool.
And
I had seen some pictures about, I guess, people that were first running into that were gonna do the Boston Marathon that they had gotten hurt last year with the bombing. One of them had an amputee. It wasn't her, but and then the other one had a bunch of scars on her legs where I guess she got shrapnel or something.
Yeah, she had the same thing.
But it was really neat because they were like, yeah, we're gonna do it. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Somebody's having fun over here.
I'd love to have the camera. I mean, she is just get it. Oh, if you could only see what she's doing with this thing, it's just crazy. Dude, you're texting while we're doing the show?
Well, no, actually, it's not.
Yes, you are.
Okay, I am. No, it's because I got a text from somebody who was like, hey, if you're interested, we're gonna be at the in front of the Boys and Girls Club. We're gonna be kayaking. If you want to come out. And it was just the phone number, because I didn't have them in my contacts. And so I text back, and I was like, well, who is this? Because a lot of times you get, and
see, I go back, because that happened on the show, and I texted back. I said, I'm in the middle of a podcast right now. I'll talk to you later. And that was it. And then I followed up afterward. I'm like, well, why don't they just jump in the chat room? We could exchange information.
So, I had texted them earlier, and anyway, you get those random texts, and it's just a phone number. Like, well, who is this? I don't know who you are.
Yeah, I never text those back.
And no, and so I
$995 later.
Yeah, and finally it was like one of the couples from the zombie run.
Oh,
they're friends of mine. I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry I didn't have your phone. I didn't have you as a contact. Wow. I just saw a number. But if they're asking me to go kayaking,
right,
I would have gone. Well, I got it late.
No kidding.
Yeah, so
can only do so much with so much time that you have.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, today I so badly I wanted to go scuba diving. I mean, it was gorgeous during the day, and nice and warm, and would have been a great dive. But the lawn was becoming out of control. And then I was out at our church installing a big screen TV for the children's church / our fellowship hall, because we had this behemoth projection TV or rear projection TV. Takes the back of it is like 8 miles long.
Oh, so it's really
it's huge. It's so huge. You wouldn't believe it.
It's huge.
Yeah, it took you a day and a half to walk around behind it just to find the cable, and it was horrible.
Oh my gosh.
It was bad. But I mean, this thing was monstrous, and the volume you had to like practically, you had to hold your tongue the right way and then wave your hand before the remote would actually make the volume work. It was bad.
Okay.
It was horrible. So it literally was on its last legs, and so the church bought a new flat screen, which made perfect sense. And so Mr. Tech here went over there this afternoon and spent literally the whole afternoon setting it up and mounting everything, and little tray to hold the VCR and the Blu-ray or DVD player and all that fun stuff. So, and then of course, because most of our folks are not tech savvy, a remote control befuddles them.
Oh, I see.
So I thought, okay, I need to make a quick instruction. Just here's your basic. If you want to watch a DVD, here's what you press. Here's where you go. You turn this on. I mean, literally step by step. And then if you want to watch a VHS tape, because we do still have some like children's church stuff on VHS.
Right.
Why, I don't know. But anyway, here's how you do that. So hopefully you'll be able to handle that. Well, I'll probably still get phone calls, but so I was getting all that set up. So finally, and I cleaned up my mess and left. So that was my afternoon. I was thinking the whole time, I should be underwater. I wanted I'm so itching to get back in.
Yeah.
Get back in the water.
Well, the days are getting warmer, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, see, with our wetsuits though, that's not so much the issue. It's just getting out of the water, and now it's perfect to get out and just really warm up quick.
Yeah.
Quick. So, let's see. So the title of the episode, of course, is "I Didn't Teach You That," and this was spawned out of I was reading. I love these lessons for life in the Sport Diver, Scuba Dive magazine. And some of them are like, okay, well that's interesting. And then some of them I read and I just, my jaw drops at discovering how amazingly stupid people can be. Get myself back in focus. I feel so blurry. After getting training, and you're texting again. Stop it. Stop it. This was absolutely remarkable to me. So here was the situation, and just kind of mentally tick off all the bad choices made here and the questions that kind of come to your mind as we're doing as this story moves along.
All right.
Okay, so, and those of you who may be watching, make notes as well. Even if you're not a diver, hopefully you'll be hearing this and realize, okay, that doesn't seem right to me. Oops. Okay, so Dave had just completed his open water dive. Okay, so fresh diver. He's got 4 dives minimum under his belt, maybe 1 or 2 extra. We'll see. You know, we don't know for sure, but but he just finished it. 2 weeks before, on his 19th birthday, he dreamed of pursuing diving as a career. Okay, well, that means he was thinking about going professional. Wanted to work his way up to dive instructor as quickly as he could, and then he wanted to dive around the world. Well, you don't have to be an instructor.
You don't have
to become an instructor to dive around the world. As soon as you get your certification, you can dive all over the world. It just comes down to what kind of money you got. Or who can you ride on their coattails, right?
Exactly. Well, when you say I want to dive all over the world, it's like, well, where do you want to go?
That's right. That's right. You know, there are people who don't even dive in their own backyard, even though they have.
You want to be like a James Cameron and do the Marina
There
Trench?
you go. That's it. That's it. You want to do the hard hats, dive in that stuff, the hard suits. He read through dive magazines, watched TV shows, read online reports of dive adventures, and so he was clearly eaten up with the idea of scuba diving. So, and then he was buddies with a guy named Roy and Clarence. I'm sure the names were changed to protect the stupid. Roy and Clarence have been diving a little longer by a few months. Okay, so basically you've got a bunch of newbies who have very fresh skills, not innate yet. Okay?
I see catastrophe coming.
Yep, really do. Okay, so here was the dive. The morning air was only slightly warmer than the 60-degree water temps. Okay, so you're already diving in air and water that is less than optimum. It's not, so you're going to be loaded up with serious neoprene, if not a dry suit.
Right.
And all over. Okay, so, and lots of lead. The wind was calm, the sun was bright. Well, that helps, especially getting out of the water. It doesn't do you much good while you're in the water because once you're underwater, you don't really see the sun. And so they were out on a boat. Dive master explained that they were anchored near a deep drop-off. Okay, that already worries me. With depths dropping quickly to 1,000 feet or more.
Yeah.
Cue the music. Dun, 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 dun. Each knew what the other was thinking, and it couldn't have been smart. They wanted to go deep. Okay, now as a brand new diver, without having gone through the adventure or the advanced diver course, 60 feet. That's it. 60 feet is what you're really trained to go. Okay? Then you go through the advanced course, 90 feet, and then you can go for the specialty and be really certified, trained to go the full recreational. Even though we have certainly gone the full max.
Yeah, we have.
But I'm an instructor, and you're working up to dive master, and we've got that many dives, and we're very meticulous about our process going in. We worked our way to that. So we have experience that's worked us into that, as well as the gear. Okay, so they wanted to go deep. The threesome geared up quickly and entered the water before any other divers. They didn't want anyone to question their plan to make a deep dive. If you are already planning to do something that somebody is going to bust you on, why on earth would you do it? If you're, it's like a little kid making sure nobody's looking when he goes to reach for the candy.
Yeah.
If you know you're looking to make sure nobody's watching you, why are you going for the candy? You know it's wrong to begin with.
Right. It's kind of like I tell my son, if you have to stop and ask yourself, will I get in trouble for doing this? Don't. You've answered your own question. Don't do it.
That's it.
Don't do it.
The answer is built in.
You know, it's your common sense.
Well, apparently not so flippin' common.
No, and then of course you just have those people that, they're just mischievous, they just want to do it just to see if they can get away with it.
And I'm wondering where the emphasis from the instructors that they each had.
Yeah.
Where was, because I stress it. I point out, when you get your card, you're trained to deal with the environment at 60 feet.
Right.
Now, and I tell them, of course, there's no scuba police.
Right, exactly.
So you can do whatever you think you're willing to, risk management, risk assessment. But, I stress, don't exceed your experience and your training. There is a reason why there's additional training that allows you to go deeper with each of these particular certifications, because they introduce to you some things that we don't have the time or the necessity, because of the structure of the basic course, to teach you in the basic course.
Exactly.
And yet, here they go.
Yeah.
So, all right. So they got in the water. As soon as they were all in the water, they began swimming down as quickly as they could. Okay, and obviously, and I'm a quick descender. You're a quick descender. Mm-hmm. The idea is we want as much bottom time as possible, and you don't want to spend a lot of your air and a lot of your saturation of nitrogen in your system on the descent. So if your ears are up for it and you're in good shape and you're not dealing with any other sinus or other issues, respiratory issues, you can make as fast a descent as you want to, so that you get to your actual planned depth and enjoy the dive a maximum amount of time.
And we've dealt with people that are slow descenders.
Yes.
I mean, and
Trish, if you're watching.
Yeah, Trish and other people. But and that's okay. That's okay.
Yep.
But like when Rob and I, we already know how we dive, so it's kind of like when it's just he and I, it's kind of like it's fair game. Everything's game.
Yep.
What is the plan? Well, I want to go here. Okay, let's go. but you're talking about dropping from surface to 70 feet in
Right.
like a matter of seconds. I mean, we just drop.
Yeah, we're down.
Yeah, and other people, it takes a few minutes just to get down.
Yeah.
Half that, but still, that's okay.
That's it.
Yeah, but
It isn't a race.
It isn't, but
Just we want to maximize our body time.
Right.
We're not trying to do stupid stuff like these three guys were doing. So, all right. So there wasn't much to see below 100 feet, but they kept pushing. Certified for 60 feet, so they bust down below 100 feet and keep pushing. None of them had ever been that deep before. Well, duh.
nope.
None of them. Amazing. Why would you push yourself below a depth that you've not been taken in some sort of training, especially that new? So they finally pulled up when it started getting dark. Dave looked at the dive computer and it read 227 feet.
Well, there's already trouble there.
Oh, absolutely. They are not. That's tech diving.
Mm-hmm.
You go the emergency depth you can go as a recreational diver with full training is 140.
Yep.
But your actual recreational limit is 130. So they went down to 227 feet. They looked at the computer, saw 227. Although he was having a little trouble focusing, well, yeah, his head felt dizzy. All three of the divers felt effects of nitrogen narcosis. Yes. They stayed at that depth less than a minute before agreeing to ascend some, hoping the feelings would go away. Well, they probably vaguely, in their nitrogen, in their narked out haze, remembered that we teach in the basic course nitrogen narcosis, the effects.
Mm-hmm.
You don't experience it, but we teach it.
Right.
And that how you alleviate is by coming up to relieve some of the pressure. Basically, what you're doing is you're letting the pressure decrease so that the nitrogen can be desaturated.
Right.
And you meet the new saturation level of the depth that you've come up to. So they ascended to 190 feet and leveled off.
Okay.
Okay, so the accident, I'm like, well, that was the accident. So Dave runs out of air, but he didn't know how to react at first because he's only practiced the out of air experience however many times that his instructor took him through it, which is multiple times, but certainly not the point where you have it innate. So he wasn't sure. He didn't know how to react at first. That coupled with the fact that your problem-solving skills while narked are significantly reduced, if not completely obliterated. He was puzzled that there was nothing coming out of his regulator.
Puzzled.
So quickly he looked around and found Roy. He swam over to his buddy, making the out-of-air signal. He had just practiced during his certification a few weeks before. A slashing motion across his throat. So he was doing this. All right. So Roy realized what was happening and gave Dave his alternate air. Well, as soon as they got the situation under control and began ascending, Clarence swam up. And he was, of course, freaking out because he was out of air. Well, Dave gave the alternate air source regulator to Clarence, and then he took off swimming for the surface. So Dave was the first one to run out of air. And then so he got on alternate air, which I'm surprised there was anything left. There was anything left for Roy that Roy had.
Exactly.
Okay, so but Roy was the more, if you can call it that, Roy was the more experienced diver compared to Dave, who had just gotten certified. But I guess that would only mean that probably he was a little bit more efficient on his air. Okay, so when Clarence comes over and says, "I'm out of air," Dave gives him the alternate that he was breathing off of Roy, and then Dave starts heading free ascent to the surface from 170 feet. Okay, we teach the controlled emergency swimming ascent. That's at 30 feet.
You're right.
Because that's about as good as you can get. That's about as safe as you can make it. Anything below that, if you're not near your buddy, you're going to be making a swimming ascent to the surface, and you are going to be suffering some sort of injuries.
Right.
It would be rare when you don't. So anyway, so he starts heading to the surface from 170 feet. Roy and Clarence follow quickly behind. Due to their limited air supply, the pair ascended directly to the surface without making a safety stop or any sort of decompression stop from 227 feet. They immediately saw that the dive boat crew was in process of rescuing Dave. He was unconscious and floating on the surface. The crew's efforts to resuscitate Dave were unsuccessful, and he was pronounced dead later at the local hospital. So the divers made a series of mistakes in planning and preparation. First, that they planned to go anywhere near thinking about going below what they were trained to get to, which was 60 feet.
Yeah.
Thinking about going below that this early in their dive experience was an invitation that was basically suicide. Inexperienced and ill-equipped, because obviously they didn't bring secondary bottles.
Yeah, exactly.
And in tech diving, so if you're going to those depths, you're going to be diving with various mixed gases. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have various bottles of different mixes coming up to work your way through the various decompression stops, because those are decompression dives when you go below 140 feet. Let's see. They had no real goal other than to go deep, and no idea what would happen to their air supply at that depth. Let me tell you, folks, you are going to breathe your air faster the deeper you go. It's simply the law of physics. It is, the deeper you go, the more everything is compressed. So it takes more air to expand your lungs fully, so you have a full lung of air. Mm-hmm. Okay? So the deeper you go, your air is going to last a lot less time. When we go to Balmorhea, which is 21 feet if you dig a hole, we can get 2-hour-long dives on a single tank very easily. Right. But you ain't getting that going down to 90 feet or 100 feet. When we go, we're down for 30, 45 minutes, or if we're really relaxed, we might be able to get a full hour out of it. But you going to 227 feet, you're sucking out the tank as quickly as anything at that point. Remarkable. So, and they even saying here, there are no dive police. No one in the water stops divers from doing stupid things. Regardless of the recommendations for recreational depth limits or guidelines on how to prepare for deep dives, no one enforces those things. They're simply guidelines. So, let's see. What were the results? As every beginning diver learns, each atmosphere of pressure reduces their gas supply by the same fraction. With an aluminum 80 cubic foot tank each diver was wearing would last 1/8 as long as it would on the surface based on where they were going. They had been trained in the proper techniques. They didn't understand nitrogen narcosis or potential gas toxicity of the air they were breathing. They didn't know how to plan for decompression stops, nor did they have sufficient gas supply. Again, what we were saying. Mm. They never released Dave's autopsy, so they don't know the exact cause of death. So, in other words, it could have been anything from asphyxiation to drowning to air embolism. I mean, it could be so many things that happen. Doing a free ascent from 170 feet.
I would, if I had to guess, he was holding his breath as he ascended up.
Probably had pneumothorax.
He probably had lung expansion injuries, and probably asphyxiated on his own.
Yeah. It's likely that he drowned. Without an air supply for that long, he probably suffocated and lost consciousness. The other two divers lived. They both returned to the water for some unspecified... This is amazing. They both returned to the water for some unspecified in-water recompression, although it's unlikely that this provided any benefit. In other words, they realized that they came up without properly decompressing. So they thought, well, let's fix this and get back in the water and recompress. No, you have to go through the full chamber work. Let's see. it was probably just a few minutes breathing air. In other words, they jumped back in the water on the same tanks that they had. Because obviously, when you come to the surface, the pressure on the outside of the tank is lessened, and so any air that you actually have in the tank, you may actually be able to get a few breaths out of it near the surface.
Yeah, a few breaths, but you're not going to be able to decompress.
No, that's why I just said for a few moments. Let's see. Once the boat was ready to leave, they had to resurface. Clarence developed symptoms of decompression sickness on the boat.
There you go.
We knew that was going to happen. He was treated several times at a hyperbaric chamber, but still has residual symptoms to this day. Clarence did not receive oxygen first aid on the surface. When in doubt, give him O2. Which that amazes me. This was a dive operation, which should have had O2. I would have, if I knew, if they came up to the surface and I saw that the horror story was that they went down below 130 feet, the first thing I'd be doing is insisting that they go on oxygen and us bolt it for the hospital.
Even during our training for rescue diver, you put them on oxygen. Yeah. You know, and that's part of the training, again, hence the word. That's why you advance your training, ladies and gents.
Exactly.
Well, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but let's.
So, all right. So Clarence has experienced symptoms to this day. Didn't receive oxygen on the surface. Standard care for dive-related injury. Roy never, and this is what shocks me. This is that rare. This is the exception that proves the rule. Roy never exhibited any signs or symptoms of decompression sickness. We don't know why Clarence took a severe hit while Roy walked away without anything. Of course, as they say, the dive tables and algorithms, those are still theoretical. In other words, they're based on a number of averages, a number of things that can vary dramatically from diver to diver. Exactly. No diver is the same on any two dives, and no two divers are the same. You and I could go on a 130-foot dive like we have many times before, and as many times before, not experience anything. But then any given dive, I could experience coming up, even though following the normal procedures, I could experience DCS. Right. I could experience some form of the shakes or joint pain or something like that. Or you could, and there'd be no difference in the way we're both diving the exact same profile.
Right. It can be as simple as whatever you had for lunch. Yeah. It can be something in the food that changed to something in your body. Or a medication
that you're taking.
Exactly. It just depends. I mean, this individual is obviously very lucky that nothing happened to him. But he is the exception to the rule. Yeah. And you always have that one. But it's not necessarily so in everybody's case.
It just amazes me that people go through the training, which didn't say if it was Patty or now or who it was, but I know when I'm instructing students, I'm meticulous about stressing. These get you in the door to diving. And you can dive in almost any location within your limits and enjoy the dive. Below 60 feet in most places, you're not going to see a lot anyway, because that's not where most of the life is teeming. If you're looking for the more exotic stuff like sharks, etc., then you want to get the more advanced training to be able to deal with that. Now, when we go dive out here, there are some things for us to look at 90 feet, 100 feet. Right. We're looking to see what kind of fish are hanging out in the caves, and usually the big catfish and stuff like that.
Right. See, like, Rob said earlier on that we've dove, past, we've dove to the limit several times already. And without going into this, if you would like, to go into, we do have specialized training, and of course Rob is an instructor, but I can assure you, and I've said this many a times, on the show, there is nothing below 70 or 80 feet that's worth seeing. For us, there's certain areas here at the lake that we do go to because there's drop-offs, there's because in the area where we dive, there's cliffs, and a lot of that is underwater. but it isn't for the faint at heart. So I don't recommend.
And not for the foolish either.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if you are not trained to do it, then just don't do it. Obviously, this story, you know, is pretty.
Oh, absolutely.
But
there are people who do this, and it just shocks me. We have known a person or two who, with basic training, have decided that they're Joe Diver, they're Scuba Steve, and they do silly things.
Whatever
and
they want.
And there are no scuba police, but man, I will wag my finger at you seriously. And while, you know, I am a dog when it comes to diving, I will dive with just about anybody. But as soon as I see that you're irresponsible, that ends our dive relationship. I'm not going to be diving with you.
Yeah. But, you know, and if you would like to know about some of the things that we've done as far as diving, you know, shoot us an email or something. We'd gladly share our story. We don't actually have too much time to go into it here. But if you're interested in anything, or even the story that Robert just was talking about, you know, shoot us something, and we'll get that to you so that you can read it for yourself. But if you're interested in finding out certain things, please, you know, get on the chat and chat it up with us, or you know, send us an email.
Send us emails. We'll
exactly. We'll gladly answer it to you, because we have experienced several things. I myself have experienced issues. Robert, when he and I have dove, when he was trying to obtain certain pictures and angles, has experienced things. But you know, if you want,
we followed process, we followed the training, and no harm, no foul.
Right,
but the training works.
At 140 feet, which is the max that we've gone, really, truly, there isn't anything to see. It's pitch black, and this was like at mid-noon. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure the ocean is probably a little more giving as far as the...
You get down to 100 feet, and it's still plenty, you know, visibility. That's why in this story, obviously, it was an ocean dive, and they were down at 227 feet, and it was getting dark.
Yeah, it was barely getting dark there. So, you see... That can actually throw off your senses as well. You think, okay, well, how deep am I? Because I can still see, when you're really deeper than what you should be. So be very careful, obviously, in that. But here at the lake where we mostly dive, below 40 feet, it's dark.
You know, matter of fact, I will try to remember for next week to queue up the video that I took a few years ago of a dive out at Castle Canyon, and a couple times I do show my gauge, and it shows the depth and how dark it is at that point.
So, you know, a lot of people think, well, there's nothing to see at the lake. Actually, the lake is pretty cool because it works with your skills. You know, it keeps you up on your skills, so that when you go to places like when we've gone to Bomberay and you go to the place, you're like, you really enjoy the dive because you can see everything, but you still don't ever forget your skill sets.
Absolutely.
And that's... You know, that's cool.
Yeah, dive more frequently.
Yeah.
You can start creeping beyond your actual training, if you so choose, through experience, and preferably going with somebody who has much more experience, because they will be on the lookout for things that you're not trained yet to be on the lookout for. So if you absolutely are dead set against actually getting the training to go advance, and I recommend you get the training that's commensurate with what your goals are as a diver. Find somebody who's got that experience, got that training, so that they can mentor you and show you why the training actually is beneficial. But don't just go blowing past your training like these guys did, and it becomes either fatal or at least ends your dive career.
Right. And I'll share this with you, those of you who are watching or will catch this later on in you know, at your own leisure on YouTube, which I hope that we hope you do.
Yes.
But, you know, for example, when I was going through my advanced training, part of one of the specialties was doing a deep dive. Went down to 100 feet. Well, one of the skills that Robert gave me was you do an activity on the surface, and you're going to do that same activity at depth.
Yep.
Well, it was a really eye-opening experience how just being in the water changes your motor skills, and you think you're doing it like, oh, no problem, when he's timing you. So On the surface, I did a mathematical question that he gave me, probably in about a minute and a minute and change. Did a different mathematical question, but the same thing. It wasn't like trig or anything. It wasn't anything hard. It was just basic arithmetic. At 100 feet, it took me almost 6 minutes to do that same. But I thought I was doing it really quick.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you how the depth can mess with your senses.
Absolutely.
So with that said, please heed the warning. If you're not trained, don't do it. Trust me.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I don't know what else to say at that.
Yeah.
But that was one of the training things that Robert did as part of one of the activities that you do something on the surface, and then you do it at depth, just to show you how it
that
actually
it sneaks
affects
up on you, because you don't realize that it's affecting you until it can potentially be too late. Now, obviously, it's in a controlled situation that we did it, and as required by PADI standards. But when you're out on a real dive, like we were, I'm concentrating. We're 128 feet, or I was at 128 feet. You were a little bit below me, and I was just so focused on maintaining absolute steady buoyancy while I was trying to get this picture in an odd position or an odd situation, that suddenly I thought it was fine, and suddenly I realized, man, because I know what it's like to feel being drunk, and I was like, I know this feeling, and I'd never experienced it myself underwater.
Right.
So it was the first time for me, even though I've been down to that depth many times. And so I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit dizzy. Let's come up a little bit. And it went away.
Which just amplifies my deal here. 100+ dives, and it can happen to him.
Yep.
It can happen to you, definitely, if you're at 200 feet.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So just like we always say, a C card means you can dive. Diving makes you a diver. But at the same time, there's nobody out there. And this story that Robert was talking about cost somebody their life.
Yep. So
that's never a good thing. We use it as training material to kind of, help you guys that are out there. But please just be careful. It is fun if you're cautious,
Those of us who are instructors will never teach you to do something that is not safe. We're going to impress upon you over and over again the limitations that come with diving. The things that you have to be careful of, why we teach you all these skill sets, which are basically self-rescue. They are self-help for the kind of situations that you might get into. We're not training you to go beyond your experience. We're not teaching you things that are going to necessarily help you if you choose to do something stupid like this. We're going to teach you the skills necessary to dive at the level that you have contracted to learn. We have additional courses that are more advanced as you go, that give you more experience and more training, more skill sets to add to it. But even so, even though you go through it advanced and you are cleared for 90 feet, that doesn't mean, okay, I can go as deep as I want to. There are so many things that you need to learn about each step of the way. Go enjoy yourself, but don't go beyond what you've been trained to do. You're just inviting injury, potentially death, and certainly the potential for just ending your dive career. I would hate it if through some stupid accident that I could have prevented, that I was no longer able to dive. Right. That would just kill me.
And some of the basic skills that you learn is, in your basic open water, if you've been certified already, is mask clearing.
Yep.
Regulatory recovery, cramp, self-rescue as far as removing a cramp if you have it, or getting your buddy to help you with a cramp, removing your gear, putting it back on in the water.
Yep.
All of these things actually we've done so many times. Is I've had the mask kicked out of my face, so I have to put it back on. You have to clear the mask.
Yes, be careful who you dive with.
Yeah, I've had the regular kicked out of my mouth, so I've had to retrieve it. Cramps. We have cramps sometimes.
Yep.
In the location where we live, to get to some of these dive locations, you're walking around a lot and carrying your gear to the location.
Yep.
You may extend your your calf muscle or something, and then you experience a cramp in the water.
Yep.
The other thing is removing your gear. Where we tend to dive, there is a lot of fishing line. You'll get tangled. Don't panic. You have to get out of your gear to cut yourself loose, put it back on, and you're back on your way.
Exactly.
Things like that happen. So, and that's why they teach it to you, because you're going to experience things like this. But if, like Rob said, if there's a situation that you find yourself in and you don't know how to do it, then you're way beyond your skill sets.
That's it. That's it.
So.
That's a good way to look at it. Before because you should plan every dive.
Mm-hmm.
Before you enter the water, if you're thinking about doing something that you've not experienced before, ask yourself this question: would I know what to do if something went wrong? Because there's a reason why certain types of skills are taught to you in a class. We teach the controlled emergency swimming ascent, and we teach that it is useful at around 30 feet. Mm-hmm. We don't teach you a way to rescue yourself from 60 feet. We don't teach you a way to rescue yourself other than finding your buddy and going off of his air. But we don't teach you a way to rescue yourself at 90 feet or 100 feet or 227 feet. We teach you things that help you within the skill set, within the target depth that certification grants you. Right. So ask yourself, do I have the skills and equipment necessary to handle potential problems based on the type of diving I'm about to do? There are plenty of recreational divers, they've just got their basic certification, that go do things like go into caves or enter a wreck that in an area that has not been already opened up and cleared for basic recreational divers. We've shown videos on this show a number of times of Tara and I diving on the Spiegel Grove and the Vandenberg. Mm-hmm. And you see us entering the wrecks, but we only enter the areas that have been clearly opened up for those of us who've not been specifically trained for penetration diving. When we go out here to Lake Amistad, there are plenty of little caves. I never actually penetrated a cave other than the opening itself. There are plenty of little caves that are very shallow that even if you silted it up, you're able to see your way out because there's no real depth into the cave. You will never see me go into a cave that actually will cause me to not really have a foot in the opening. Mm-hmm. Because it's just not safe. There's always the opportunity to do something like that, but you have to choose. I'm not going to go beyond what my skill and my training are.
Right. And I think all the training that I've gone with through you up to rescue, and I know even Dive Master, there is no rescue or no. If you're below 30 feet, there is no emergency ascent. Right. No matter what training you have. I know that I think in the commercial diving, if you're already, commercial, like you're an underwater welder or you're a professional diver, there are different things. But even at that, when you go down that deep, there are still decompression stops that they must have. Yep. And these people are highly trained individuals, so they know I got to stop here for 15, 20 minutes. I got to go stop here another, 35 minutes or whatever the case may be. But there are stops. You cannot bolt from below 30 feet without getting hurt. Yeah. And that's just, so don't say, well, can I do an emergency ascent from 90 feet? It's not going to happen. No. You're going to hurt yourself. 30 feet, people. 30 feet.
Now, there's a reason why I dive with a redundant air source. I've got a spare air. Tara does too. Mm-hmm. And I have practiced actually doing staged controlled emergency swimming ascents using that, pretending that my primary air source has failed or emptied or whatever. And I've gone from 90 feet and made it by doing staged seizes using that spare air because I can get enough air to do that all the way to the surface. But you, A, have to practice it. B, you have to actually plan out how you would use it and keep calm. In this kind of a situation where these guys were in, their problem-solving skills were not under control.
No.
But that's what you have to make sure you've got the training, the experience, and the equipment necessary to help you based on the situation that you are diving in.
Right. Hence the word equipment. Like he mentioned, he has a supplemental air system. He's got additional air. So when he does dive, he carries that.
Yep.
And even when we're going to plan a deep dive, he brings out the spare just in case, because we know we've already planned it. We're going to go deep. If something happens, here we go.
Yeah.
But if you don't have additional air source, like a backup air system or something, some things are going to happen.
Invitation to disaster.
Exactly.
So let that be a lesson to you. All right. Well, it's 20 after 9, and I know you're tired. You need to get some rest. And I got church in the morning and all that good stuff. Let's hit some administrivia. Oh, hello.
Ooh, hello.
Wow, that was a big delay. All right, so next Del Rio Dive Club meeting, 15 May, 7 p.m., Rudy's Restaurants. Bring your sweet baby Ray.
Sweet baby Ray. That's what I had for lunch.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Next dive class, May 22nd through the 25th, followed by June 22nd through the 29th, July 24th through the 27th, August 28th through the 31st, and September 25th through the 29th. Airfills are available at the Broke Mill RV Park. Go see Mike McCarson out there at Highway 90 West. Give him a call ahead of time so he knows you're coming, because he didn't have somebody sitting there watching the. He doesn't have phones standing by. You know, colors. He doesn't have people manning the phones or anything to ready to fire up the Cascade system. So call ahead 830-719-2935. If you'd like to keep in touch with us, go ahead and visit our website, delriodiveclub.com, and you'll find a lot of good information, specifically about the dive classes, some information you need to download and read and complete, medical statements, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Also, visit us on our Facebook page, Del Rio Dive Club, or send us email or message through Skype. Just look for TGWD. If you would like to converse with ScubaBob, you can follow him on the Twitter. RS Garza 435, or send him email, because he does read his own.
I do read my own email.
He reads his own email, rsgarza821@yahoo.com. And
please, like to hear from you.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at RobertCFP, or send me email, robert.wade@cetifox.net. I actually had a message on my phone, which of course I returned the call from a guy who was, he didn't say how he found out about us, but he found out about the scuba diving.
Oh, okay.
And he said, I'd like to maybe meet with you and maybe talk about scuba diving. I'm really interested in it, and maybe you could mentor me. And I thought, well, I can teach you. I can train you. I'm an instructor, so I can bring you through the class. But if you're looking for somebody to just go out and take you diving, I said, I'm not the person to do that. I'm not just going to take somebody who's uncertified out diving. But if you're wanting to actually go through the course, be happy to get with you. So I pointed him to the webpage and said, go out to select the link for the scuba classes. And you'll see some things to download that you need to read, because it gives you details on the cost and prep you need, being able to swim, etc. And a medical statement needs to be completed so that we know that you're healthy enough to dive.
Right.
And then after you read that, just give me a buzz and we'll get together and talk. Well, I've not heard back from him. So I think he thought it was going to be the piece of cake. Let me just take you out on the Discover Scuba thing out in the middle of the lake. Not gonna happen.
No, yeah.
I'll do it in the pool, but I'm not gonna take you out on the lake diving. That's how I got introduced to it, and that was so stupid looking back.
It's kind of like we say, do what I say, not what I do as I say, not as I do. Type thing.
Yep.
I think we've all experienced at some point certain lessons.
And interestingly, Patty does have a experienced diver certification path used for those who have kind of got introduced but to diving. They've been diving for years
Right.
with people who were certified, but never were formally trained.
Oh, okay.
But they got most of the skills down. So it's more of a, okay, we need to make sure you got the academics, but we just basically take you through, essentially it's just we take you through the skill sets
Yeah.
to see if you know them. So you get the academic portion, because obviously somebody who just takes you out diving is not sitting there teaching you all, the dive theory and the various concepts that you need to understand. You're just kind of experiencing firsthand the practical,
Right.
before the academic, which is not really the right way to do it. But, and then we take them through basically kind of like the refresher. So it's like, okay, now let me see you demonstrate the skills.
Right.
And if there's anything that we need to go through a little prescriptive remedial training on those particular things, no big deal. And then so it's an accelerated pathway for those who've been diving for years. I won't say illegally, because it's not a legal thing, but without benefit of certification.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you're asking, well, what's the importance of getting certified? Obviously, the training, so that you don't hurt yourself or hurt somebody that you're with.
Yep.
The other thing too is, in order to obtain gear, a lot of dive locations, or even
They won't rent it to you.
they won't rent it to you, and a lot of places won't sell you gear because it is life support system or life support equipment. So a lot of places won't sell it to you until you send them a copy of your card.
Yeah.
So and naturally, I agree with that 100%. I don't think, if you don't have the training, you don't have the certification, you don't have the card, then really truly for me, I wouldn't sell you anything.
Yep.
Because
Well, and you can't get air.
and you can't get air.
They dive shops or airfield stations will not fill your tank unless you can show them a valid certification card.
Right. Yeah.
Troy and I were headed out for a dive out the lake last year, I think it was, and we were parked. We pulled up at the gas station / Quickie Mart that's right there by Diablo East.
Right. Yeah.
And these teenagers, part of a family that were there, I had the back of the trailer open because I was also filling the gas tank for the compressor.
Oh, okay.
So they saw all the gear and everything. Hey, can you take us diving? And Troy is like, let me let you talk to the instructor here. They said, yeah, we were interested in going. Can you take us on a guided dive or anything? I said, well, you guys certified? Well, no, we just wanted to go dive. I'm like, oh no, I'm not taking you nowhere. Oh man, come on. I'm like, no, you're not certified. I'm not taking you nowhere.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that pretty much finishes up for this week. Like I said, I'm going to try and remember to queue up some video of showing how dark it could get out here at 90 feet or so.
Yeah.
I love diving at Castle Canyon, but yeah, it do get dark.
Yeah. I remember the first time I dove that, I was like, okay, what are we looking at? And then,
but it is awesome. It really is awesome.
Because it kind of takes you around this little area.
It is a canyon.
It is a
It really
canyon,
is cool.
and the rock is very jagged.
Yes, it is.
Jagged. Yeah.
Yes,
So.
jagged little pill. Yes. Listen, as always, we love doing the show. We love to hear from you if you have any questions or comments. We'd really prefer if you join us live. You actually can, as you're watching the show, you can jump in our chat room and share information, talk with us, ask us questions live and impersonal.
Yes.
And we'll respond, obviously. But you can also leave us comments on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel. That way you can see when we post the show. Because after we get done, wrap this up, I started uploading to YouTube, so it's available. And I'm hoping to be able to publish my Windows Phone / Windows 8 app, because I've got the pre-published version on both devices now. Oh. Oh no! Let's see what Cortana said. Read it. Oh, that was gonna be fun. Something fun. Oh well. Thank you, Cortana. That's all I needed. I love watching the little icon when she's talking.
Oh, wow.
I'm done. In more ways than one.
Yeah.
We're done with this episode.
We're
and
done.
We will see you next week on another exciting episode of Two Guys Who Dive. See ya.